Hello my dear friends, today we are talking about the first session in biology for all biology lovers all over the world. We will talk about the cell discovery. Many scientists try to discover what is the building unit of the living organisms and what is the fact about it, but the first documented trial was for an English scientist called Robert Hooke. Okay, look here in front of you, you can find a microscope invented by the scientist Robert Hooke around 1670. Okay, it was consisting of a tube, okay, like that. Look at this tube, it has an eyepiece lens, so it's in front of the eye, so we call it eyepiece lens, but another lens is fixed here in this tiny tube and it's called objective lens in front of the specimen or the sample that he will discover or test. He also supplied it with an oil lamp, okay, and a water flask and something like a condenser to focus the light on this specimen so that he can see with high contrast. He could see and he discovered the tissue of cork plant. You know, the cork plant can survive or can finish its lifetime within or life cycle within 2 months, okay, and after that it changes into a lifeless material, looks like wood. Okay, he could make the very simple thin slices for it and then he examined it under this simple microscope and he could see this figure in front of you. Tiny chambers, they are attached and stuck near to each other with very little spaces in between. Okay, look at this book in which he drew it by his handwriting. Okay, these tiny chambers also related to the things or the dead cells that he discovered under that microscope. Okay, and he called them cells. This word is related to a Latin word called cellula, which means tiny chambers. Okay, let's move to the next one. The second scientist called, he was Dutch by the way, and he was called Van Leeuwenhoek. Look at this, very small, okay, it's the size of 2 fingers beside each other like that, and it consists of one objective lens, just one objective lens here, and the sample will be put here, and almost he will use or he used in that days 1 drop of blood, 1 drop of water, 1 drop of some pond of water, okay, or urine or saliva or all these liquids. He could see a very tiny creature that jump everywhere within the water drop, okay, and he opened the door for the discovery of microorganisms. And here we can see a closer look for that microscope. Okay, look, this is a bracket, okay, that one, and this piece is movable, it can screwed like that, so vertically it can move back and forth to move this specimen in front of the lens. If you catch it vertically like that in this boy, okay, it can be moved up and down by screwing it to the right or screwing it back to the left. And this is a lateral view. Lateral means a side view for the same microscope. Here is the objective lens which is in front of the specimen pin. Okay, this is an upper plate, lower plate, don't mention that details, but you need to understand that it consists of only one. Sure, it was made up of convex lens. Let's move to the third scientist. The third scientist called Matthias Schleiden. He was a German botanist and he concerned in the plant, so we call him a botanist. So who is a botanist? He is a scientist that deal or study or examine or test work with plants. Okay, he concluded in 1838 that all plants are made up of cells. The next one called, he was also a German scientist, and not only a scientist, he was a physician and also a physiologist. So he worked on the function of different groups of different organs or different systems within the living organism, especially human and animals. And he concluded also the body of living organism, which are animals, also consists of cells. Okay. The third scientist, he was, by the way, a German physician, okay, and anthropologist and a pathologist, and by the way, he was called the father of pathology, okay. He concerned the study of microorganisms and different diseases, and he worked on social medicine as well, and for discovery of the epidemic diseases at that time. And he collected all the efforts of the whole scientists that we mentioned, Schleiden, Schwann or Schwann, and Virchow, put one of the fundamental theories in biology, which is called cell theory. Okay, let's know more about the cell theory in the next slide. Cell theory was a work group of many scientists like that. Schleiden, he said that all plants are made of cells. Schwann said that all animals are also made up of cells. And Rudolf Virchow said that all cells came from pre-existing cells. And he summarized the main items of this cell theory in these 3 points. Number one, all living organisms are built up of cells. What do we mean by living organisms? We mean plants, animals, human, fungi, okay, or fungi, and algae. Cells, this is number two or second item. Cells is not only the building unit, but also the functional and organization unit of living organisms. What does it mean? You will know that a group of cells, look here, will form one tissue, and many tissues will form an organ, and many organs will form an organ system, and finally many systems that work together will form the body of a living organism. Okay, he also mentioned that the group of cells in the eye can see, so the eye as an organ can see. Group of cells in the ear can hear because they are very sensitive for the different vibration picked up from the air surrounding the two ears, and they can transmit this information into the brain. Okay, so we can realize and memorize different sounds and different voices. The heart can pump. Why? Because the heart consists of some muscle cells that have the ability to contract and relax, contract and relax. So many cells will do a certain job or certain function, so the cell is the functional unit of the living organism. The third one, as I mentioned, this is the arrangement or the organization level. Many cells will form a tissue, many tissues will form an organ, and so on, as we said. But this is a question for you. How can you differentiate between a tissue and an organ? It's very simple. Tissue has no definite shape, but the organ has a definite shape. So we can say that the eye is an organ, nose is an organ, ear organ, the arm is an organ, the leg is another organ, heart, kidney, liver, pancreas, stomach, esophagus, all of them are organs. The organ is very precious and very something priceless. It's very important. Human can die if his liver stopped working, okay? But what about the tissues? Tissues have no definite shape, and tissues, some of them may be liquid like blood. Blood is a tissue. Lymph is another liquid tissue, and some of them are hard or solid like the bone. Bone is another tissue. Okay, the cartilage also is another tissue, as we will study after that. The last item in the cell theory say that, and this point is related to Rudolf Virchow, he said that the newly produced cells, or the coming cells, or the produced cells, arise from a division of pre-existing cells. So no cells are coming from the air, no cells fall from the space, no cells come from the wall behind me, no. Cells, even if they are very tiny and very small, like the spores that are produced by some fungi, bread mold fungus or mushroom fungus, or even produced by some plants that have no seeds but can produce only by producing or production of some spores, also came from the division of pre-existing cells. Okay, the last point in our lesson today, this is a thinking question for you. Okay, why are the cells so small? Why are the cells so small? You can think and you will find answer within the next or coming videos. Okay, have a nice time. See you soon. Goodbye.